Good morning. It's 6:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Erin, see, she's gone a day. I forgot her name. Old what's-her-name is gone again today and all this week, but Matt has news up next.
Caddo Sheriff's deputies made a huge drug bust. A killer in Spring Hill gets sentenced. And I-220 in Bossier's finally back open after being closed most of the day yesterday.
It is wonderful. It is comfortable. In this room, in this studio, the air conditioning is working. Mm-hmm. Unlike at the Shreveport Police Station. Do you know about this?
Sort of.
Details on the way. Oh, plus I have a variety of ailments today. And like most old people, that's all I'm going to talk about. Plus Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather, and it's all coming up this hour. And it's, no, I'm serious, here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Caddo Sheriff's deputies find over 20 pounds of pot on a Greyhound bus. The deputies were conducting a routine check of buses at the downtown Murphy Street facility when a K-9 hit on a duffel bag full of marijuana. The bag contained 25.8 pounds of pot with an estimated street value of $115,000. There was no identification on the bag, so no arrests have been made. An investigation into the discovery is ongoing. The bus was headed to Vicksburg, Mississippi. A Spring Hill killer gets sentenced. Greg Adams has that.
19-year-old Philip Woods of Spring Hill was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served for the 2017 killing of a 16-year-old Airline High School student. Woods shot the boy in June of last year outside the home of the victim's father. The boy had been shot twice and died in his father's arms. The victim was a member of the airline wrestling team. Woods was originally charged with second-degree murder by a grand jury, which could have brought life in prison without parole. However, Woods was allowed to plead out to a lesser charge of manslaughter and has now been sentenced to less than a decade behind bars. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Greg Adams.
Westbound I-220 in Bossier is back open after being closed for several hours due to a wreck. A truck carrying a load of asphalt and tar overturned on the interstate near the Market Street exit around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It took until 11 p.m. last evening to clean up the mess and get the roadway back open. A missing Barksdale airman has been found. Airman First Class Robert Mayfield is at a Shreveport hospital after being found by Shreveport police officers sleeping on a park bench near Alexander Avenue. Police say that Mayfield wasn't hurt and was cooperative after being discovered. Mayfield went missing from near Brentwood Hospital last Wednesday. Authorities were worried he may have intended to do himself harm. 3 arrested in midday melee in Shreveport. The brawl broke out around noon in the 3500 block of Hardy Street. According to police, T. Darby's dog relieved itself on Tamiko and Gregory Wharf's property, and that sparked the violent outbreak. Several bystanders attempted to break up the brawl, but Gregory pulled out a handgun and fired several shots at a tree, causing people to scatter. All 3 face disturbing the peace charges. Gregory Wharf also faces additional charges for illegal use of a weapon. Alexandria lawyer Ed Tarpley laid out his case for why voters should support requiring unanimous jury verdicts in criminal cases. Matt Doyle has that story.
Tarpley says the law's Jim Crow-era roots have led to a situation which threatens the liberty of all Louisiana citizens.
It was an evil and wicked law because it deprived people of their rights of citizenship. And it has continued to have that effect because all of us has been deprived of the full protection of the right to trial by jury.
The amendment gained shocking bipartisan support in the legislature on its way to final passage. Louisiana is one of 2 states to not require unanimous jury verdicts. I'm Matt Doyle.
And Mayor Lo Walker from Bossier and Mayor Ollie Tyler from Shreveport are combining forces to help kids out this school year. The annual Mayor's Backpack Giveaway will take place today at the Bossier Civic Center. The event runs from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can get all the details on the event at KEELnews.com. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Nine past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Tuesday morning traffic. Here's Ruben.
We have reports of a closure this morning on the exit ramp from I-220 eastbound to Benton Road in Bossier City. Other than that, things are still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
Good morning at 612. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. The KEEL app is a free download presented by Office Furniture Source. Throughout the course of the morning, remind me that every time I mention the upcoming KEEL Mayoral Forum 1 week from today, that I mention that it is sponsored, presented, and brought to us by by Shreveport Security Systems. Don't let me forget.
Shreveport Security Systems.
Same as
let me write that down.
Same as the text line. We got this, kid.
All right.
Text line 392-1884, 318-392-1884.
Slow down.
I can't. Today is going to be an interesting day. I will tell you why.
Oh, boy.
How long have you been the ace producer of this radio program?
2 years, 3 years, somewhere in there.
And we've known each other for close to 10, right?
Yeah.
Knowing me as well as you do, although I am, of course, a man of mystery, especially when I squint, do you know what my two recurring physical ailments are?
Well, I know you have like a back or hip problem type issue.
No, I don't actually.
Oh, I thought that was just a golfing thing. I have no idea then.
I have two. One is I have a heart murmur, mitral valve prolapse.
Hey, me too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What happens when yours does it?
I get really lightheaded and almost pass out.
Awesome. That doesn't happen to me. So when yours does it, does your heart speed up where it's going like...
Yes, it feels like my heart's beating out of my chest, and then I get lightheaded, and then it feels like I'm going to, like, just...
Remember the story, the Christmas story? Yeah. Barbara from the econ professor at Michigan.
Oh, yeah, yes.
That was mitral valve prolapse.
No kidding.
Okay, so if you don't know what that is, it's basically a heart murmur, and in I'm not going to say in my case, and evidently in Matt's, it's goofy, it's weird, but it's harmless.
Yeah.
Now, I have a test every few years, like every decade, to be sure it's not getting worse. But basically what happens is if you have mitral valve prolapse, one of two things happens. Either when it kicks in, now do you take anything or does it just do it every now and then?
It does it very rarely, and usually an episode will last a couple of minutes, and then I'm...
Really?
Yeah.
See, with mine skips beats. So if yours is like bongo drums, and then do you cough? Does it kick it back in?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt's goes like this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people get lightheaded, throw up, and pass out. Mine does this. So this was in the mid-1980s. And I was dating a woman named Barbara, who was an economics professor at University of Michigan. And for Christmas, she said, you want to come with me to my grandparents in, some little town in the center of Michigan, I forget, but that's where, look and see where Central Michigan University is. That's where it is. And so we go, and we leave about 10 in the morning from Grand Rapids, where we lived, and we get there, not together, and we get there, and what town's it in?
Mount Pleasant.
Thank you very much. That's where it is. Like right in the heart of the state. And we get there, and her whole family's there, and I'd met just about everybody. We'd been dating for a while. And lunch is planned for Christmas dinner is planned for noon or 1 somewhere in there. And before that, we're just sitting around drinking coffee, eating sweet rolls or whatever it is. And I notice that there's this, there's just this weird feeling in my chest. To the point that I stand up. And everybody says, are you okay? And I can literally feel my heart doing this. Now, I don't know what this is. It's never happened before. I'm like 34 or 35 years old. And believe it or not, I freaked out. And I said, something's wrong with my heart. Is there a hospital near here? And at that point, they get me in the car and they drive me to the hospital, which in Mount Pleasant, Michigan is about 2 blocks away. Go into the emergency room. And the first thing the doctor says is, what's wrong? And I said, my heart. And before I can finish the sentence, they've ripped my shirt off and I am hooked up to more wires than Peter Boyle and Young Frankenstein. I mean, I am wired for sound, amigo. So they do all these tests, and they see that everything's fine. And they tell me after about an hour and a half or so that it's probably mitral valve prolapse. Mr. Wright, you're not having a heart attack. There's probably nothing to worry about. Your heart was skipping beats, but we would suggest you see a cardiologist when you get back to town, whenever you're going back to Grand Rapids. So we go back to her grandparents' home, and we finish out the day, and we're driving back to Grand Rapids. And I can tell something's wrong. Because, she's sitting way over on the far side of the car, leaning against the door.
Oh, boy.
And guys, I know you know the position of ridership to which I refer. And I said, something wrong? No. I said, come on, what's the matter? What's bugging you? And at some point in my prodding to find out what was wrong, what had destroyed this Christmassy mood, she says, in reference to my perceived heart attack, she says, you've heard the story, haven't you?
I have.
She says, I hope you realize you ruined my Christmas. I'm thinking, wait a second. You thought, everybody in your family thought, the emergency room doctors thought I was having a heart attack. How did that ruin your Christmas? Now, I have asked this, I've asked my friends in relationships or who have been in relationships and broken up this question before. And it's a term I call just playing out the string. And at some point, maybe women do this too, but if you're a guy, at some point there's this moment where you realize the relationship is basically over. And you either break up right then at that instant, which you hardly ever do, or you just go on for another couple of weeks or a month or so playing out the string.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as she said, I hope you realize you ruined my Christmas. I knew that we were just playing out the string. And we broke up about like a month later.
Yeah. You can't go around ruining people's Christmas with
it's
your
all
silly heart problem. What was wrong with you?
Now, I told you that to tell you this because that's not what's ailing me today. That's not today's problem. It's my other problem that's bothering me today. And maybe I'll tell you when I get back if I'm conscious. 19 past 6 o'clock, 101... Just kidding. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Here's Ruben.
We have reports of a closure this morning on the exit ramp from I-220 eastbound to Benton Road in Bossier City. Other than that, things are still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
You're not going to believe the text I just got. Just wait. 22 past 6 o'clock, KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. The Houston Astros traded for troubled Toronto closer Roberto Osuna, who was suspended by Major League Baseball in June for violating the league's domestic abuse policy. The Blue Jays made it clear they did not want Osuna back after his suspension of 75 games. Houston has a zero-tolerance policy toward abuse of any kind, but they feel Osuna has shown remorse and has turned a corner. Several Astros are taking a wait-and-see approach to Osuna's arrival in about a week or so and the possible repercussions. In Seattle last night, Nelson Cruz's two-run double provided all the offense in the Mariners' 2-0 win over the Astros. James Paxton threw 7 shutout innings to get the win. Houston has lost 5 straight, and their lead over Seattle has been whittled down to just 3 games. Shin Soo Choo blasted 2 homers and drove in 4 runs for Texas and their 9-5 win at Arizona. In Natchitoches today, Northwestern State's Demons report to campus before the first practices of the fall get underway tomorrow in Brad Laird's first year as the head football coach. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
.101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Erin's gone this week. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. Thanks. The 7 points on how to survive a heart attack when home alone.
Someone trying to tell you something, Bob?
Let's say it's 7:25 and you're home alone after a hard day on the job. You're feeling tired, upset, a little frustrated. Suddenly, you start experiencing severe pain in your chest. I don't want to read this. I mean, no, I just don't. That's not the ailment, by the way. That's not the mitral valve prolapse. Is not the ailment that plagues me today. The other one I get is I get ear infections.
Oh.
Instead of colds, I tend to get minor ear infections, which make me dizzy. And so you feel it coming on, but there's really nothing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the doctor for one once because it makes me really dizzy. And I go to the doctor for one, and he says, well, everything I would give you to knock it out was going to make you even more dizzy. I went, well, that's kind of interesting. So what I do is, he said, try a Dramamine. This is going back a bunch of years. Uh-huh. He said, try a Dramamine. So on the Dramamine, it says I guess take one. And I took one, and it knocked me out. I had a massive anxiety attack. About 20 minutes goes by. I have a massive anxiety attack and then pass out for 4 hours. So I'm thinking, obviously, an entire Dramamine is too much. So I cut it in half, okay? I take half a Dramamine. I have a massive anxiety attack, then pass out for 2 hours. I'm not joking. So I keep Dramamine with me all the time just in case. And so last night when it started, I started to get a little dizzy. I took a quarter of a Dramamine, had a massive anxiety attack, passed out for an hour, and here I am today. So
you know you're kind of a sissy when Dramamine is too hard of a drug for you.
Dramamine is something women do. Dramamine is what real men take with peanut butter because I can't swallow pills. So I sent Matt a photo yesterday that I found on Facebook. And we're going to talk about this today, and I'm not exactly sure how, other than to say well, you tell the folks what I sent you a picture of.
You sent me a picture of, I guess it's Texas Street in the 1950s.
It's basically, it appears to me to be a picture taken from the foot of the Texas Street Bridge, the Long Allen Bridge, looking back up Texas Street toward downtown Shreveport, all the way up to the head of Texas and First United Methodist.
Yeah.
And from what I guess it's 1958 or 59. Tell people what you saw in this photograph. In fact, do you still have it on your phone?
Let me see.
Put it on the KEEL Facebook page and have people comment. That would be awesome.
All right.
Put it on the KEEL Facebook page during. If not, I'll do it during your news break.
I'm trying to see if I still got it. Yeah, I still got it.
Put it on the KEEL. Email it to yourself. Put it on the KEEL Facebook page and have people comment. When you guys see this, as Matt will describe momentarily, it looks like downtown New York.
Do you remember what I commented to your photo?
What did you say?
That's a city that looks alive. Like, if I didn't know that was Texas Street, you could have thought it was downtown Dallas, New York, Nashville. I mean, you pick any major city, and it looks like Shreveport was that.
We were downtown the other day. We went to the new place, the hot dog place, Missing Link. And we were talking about that walking, and kudos to Missing Link and everybody else that renovates. Man, I've got nothing but pats on the back for people like that. The guy that's redoing over there on the shops at Madison Park, the guy that's done that, I cannot think of his name. I apologize. I heard it. And he's doing that whole renovation from the strip mall where the El Chico was and everything. I mean, I think he's making it into a storage facility, but there's going to be some retail there also. And it's right next to Maryland's, which rocks, right across the street from Key Mexico, which rocks. You talk about a neighborhood that is starting to hop a little bit. It's that side of Fern. Anybody that does that kind of renovation, man, I've got nothing but pats on the back and encouragement for you. And hell, thanks, as a matter of fact. Tell you what, we'll go to break. Will you have time to put this on the KEEL Facebook page?
Yeah, I was working on it.
Okay. It's going to be up on the KEEL Facebook page, a photo of downtown Shreveport from the late 1950s. Take a look and just comment and tell us what you see. And if you are about my age or so, old enough to remember stuff like that, buses running downtown, retail, people crossing the streets en masse. It's awesome. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic time. Ruben's here.
We have reports of a closure this morning on the exit ramp from I-220 eastbound to Benton Road in Bossier City. Other than that, things are still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
19-year-old Philip Woods of Spring Hill was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served for the 2017 killing of a 16-year-old airline high school student. Woods shot the boy in June of last year outside the home of the victim's father. The boy had been shot twice and died in his father's arms. 3 arrested in midday melee in Shreveport. The brawl broke out around noon in the 3500 block of Hardy Street. According to police, T. Darby's dog relieved itself on Tamiko and Gregory Wharf's property, and that sparked the violent outbreak. Several bystanders allegedly attempted to break up the brawl, but Gregory pulled out a handgun and fired several shots at a tree, causing people to scatter. All 3 face disturbing the peace charges. Gregory Wharf also faces additional charges for illegal use of a weapon. Caddo Sheriff's deputies find over 20 pounds of pot on a Greyhound bus. The deputies were conducting a routine check of buses at the downtown Murphy Street facility when a canine hit on a duffel bag full of marijuana. The bag contained 25.8 pounds of pot with an estimated street value of over $115,000. There was no identification on the bag, so no arrests have been made. An investigation into the discovery is ongoing. The bus was headed to Vicksburg, Mississippi. The Louisiana Department of Education have announced the most recent recipients of the titles of Teacher and Principal of the Year. Kevin Barnhart has the details.
The recipients were announced with the top honors for Principal of the Year going to Dr. Eric Davis of Waspin High School in the City of Monroe School District. Davis on the key to his school success.
We don't believe in mediocrity. We always believe in shooting for excellence. We're not going to settle for the status quo. We're going to keep pushing.
Teacher of the Year went to Spencer Kuiper of Elm Grove Middle School in Bossier Parish, who unveils his methods.
Going into education with an open mind, ready to learn and be better every day, and loving what I do.
I'm Kevin Barnhart.
Westbound I-220 in Bossier is back open after being closed for several hours due to a wreck. A truck carrying a load of asphalt and tar overturned on the interstate near the Market Street exit around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It took until 11 p.m. last evening to clean up the mess and get the roadway back open. A missing Barksdale airman has been found. Airman First Class Robert Mayfield is at a Shreveport hospital after being found sleeping on a park bench near Alexander Avenue. Police say that Mayfield wasn't hurt and was cooperative after being discovered. Mayfield went missing from near Brentwood Hospital last Wednesday. Authorities were worried he may have intended to do himself harm. And Mayor Lo Walker from Bossier and Mayor Ollie Tyler from Shreveport are combining forces to help kids out this school year. The annual Mayor's Backpack Giveaway will take place today at the Bossier Civic Center. The event runs from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can get all the details at KEELnews.com. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Erin off this week, back on Monday. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio joins us this morning in the 8 o'clock hour. He'll be awesome as always.
Mm-hmm.
So you put the photo up on the KEEL Facebook page.
I did.
The picture of downtown Shreveport hummin' and hoppin' from 1957, 58, 59, somewhere in there. And you said, boy, would I like to have one of those cars. Any comments on the photo, by the way? I don't have the page up.
A bunch of likes and some shares, but no comments as of yet.
It's an amazing photo, isn't it?
It really is.
And we said this going to break, if you're just joining us, I found on Facebook yesterday a photo of downtown Shreveport taken from the foot of the bridge, looking back up Texas Avenue toward First United Methodist. And if it were not for First United Methodist as a landmark, as a giveaway landmark, you would think, what did Matt say? It could be New York, it could be Dallas, it could be anywhere in America. Downtown Shreveport in the late 50s was humming and hopping, and things were happening.
If Shreveport was like that today, God, we'd be rolling, man. It would be like a real city.
So what happened, buddy?
I don't know. I've only been here.
We lost 20,000 manufacturing jobs.
Well, and we've done nothing to try to replace those jobs.
But do they still exist? Pardon me. Pre-Trump, did they still exist? In a world where there has been a trade war, everybody says about Donald Trump, he's going to start a trade war. We need to pull up the Jack Bailey bit where he walks, about are the good jobs coming back? Do the good jobs still exist? Since the early to mid 1980s, we've lost because of NAFTA and WTO and all the deals that the government has done to allow American businesses to move overseas. There is we've said this 100 times, there is no greater example of how there's been a trade war going on for 40 years. It's just now we're just starting to fight it. That American businesses, and so many of them here, from General Motors to Western Electric to we'll dig the Bailey thing up and play it again before the morning's over. It's absolutely amazing because he walks down the list and walks us through the economic collapse that happened here in Shreveport. Where did all the jobs go? 20,000. And as we wrap up the segment, we say to each other, imagine what Shreveport would look like today if suddenly, out of the blue, somebody drops 20,000 manufacturing jobs down on us. The one thing, and this goes back to the Bush administration, and I've talked about this before, we came within, hold your fingers apart as narrowly as you can. What's the Bossier deal? I can never think of the name. The Air Force thing. The secret spy stuff.
Oh, the computer services, CSRA, whatever.
Yeah, but there's another name for it that everybody. The point being, and I apologize because I know a couple of guys that work out there, and that thing you work at. Somebody will text it to us. The point being, toward the end of the Bush administration, they were making plans to make Shreveport, Bossier City, the hub of all that. They were going to move it all here. It was all going to be here. Can you imagine what would have happened? And it didn't, because Obama became president and he said, "I'm not moving. That stuff's not all moving to a red state. It's not all moving to Louisiana. That ain't going to happen." And it ended up being here and in Colorado, and I think in Nebraska somewhere. It's spread around like it was. But can you imagine what would have happened? How it would have changed the face of Shreveport and Bossier City if we, in 2006 or 7, had suddenly gotten 1,000 or 1,500 or whatever the number happened to be. It may have been more. If suddenly we had gotten 1,000 or 1,500 scientists and doctors, I mean like PhDs and Air Force and intelligence higher-ups guys and gals, can you all make? What do those people make? It's pretty good money, I would assume.
Well, you look at the history of Shreveport, and there's a bunch of stuff you can look at and went, well, we missed it by this much.
Well,
we almost were there.
Missed it by this much. 639, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Latest traffic for Tuesday morning. Here's Ruben.
We have reports of a closure this morning on the exit ramp from I-220 eastbound to Benton Road in Bossier City. Other than that, things are still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
1017 FM, 710 Keel, Robert J. Wright, and Erin McCarty. Erin! She's not here today. She'll be back Monday.
Well, she's here in spirit or on our phones.
That's it. Her shadow is long. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio joins us this morning just past 8 o'clock. One of the things we're going to talk about, and I saw this headline last night. We talked about this a little bit to some degree when we got into Louisiana pensions during the budget fight, during the special session.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got into, like, what state workers get pensions and why. And basically my line was, I get first responders, police, law enforcement officials, teachers. I see why teachers get pensions. That's a hard job. But my question was, and this was how I phrased it, should the under secretary to the assistant in the Department of get a pension? Well, in Louisiana, let's give us some perspective. Here's the headline. The pension hole for U.S. cities and states equals the economy of Japan.
Dear Lord.
Now, when I tell you this, the state of Louisiana's pension liability is $16.1 billion, which you go, that's a lot of money. Okay. But the pension liability, and I think I got this number right, the pension liability for the state of Illinois is like 160, maybe 180 billion dollars.
That's a lot of dough, brother.
Here's what happens. You've got all these state workers. Look, it's just like here. We've got like a company 401k. And the way it works is, what do they match? Like, it ain't a lot, but it's
like
a little.
4%, 5%,
exactly.
something like that.
Well, okay, so you're working for the state of Louisiana. No, let's make it the state of Illinois, but the state of Louisiana does it too. Hence pension liability. And you're working for the state of Louisiana, and I don't know, pardon me, the amount that you sort of every week or month or how often you get paid, take out of your paycheck and put into your 401k. Let's say it's 5%. And let's say theoretically that the state matches that 5%. I don't know. But let's just use that number for the sake of our story. So every paycheck, you're taking 5% out of your paycheck and you're putting it into the 401k or your pension if you're working for the state. And the state of Louisiana says, you know what? We're matching your 5%. Except they don't. What they do is they keep the money, their 5%, and they give you an IOU. Now, we're good for it. We promised you the 5%. We promised you we'd match. Well, you know what? We have promised we'd match to the tune of $16.1 billion. Other states around the country are way worse. Illinois has promised they'd match to the tune of $150 or $160 billion.
Dear Lord.
That's crazy. Steve Parr is going to join us just after 8 o'clock this morning. The KTBS story last week about, were they the ones that broke the story about the air conditioner being broken at the police station? Who had that?
I think it was KTBS that did a little thing on that.
And we mentioned it, and I got these texts over the past few days from someone who works at said police headquarters. Saw the article on KTBS. Yep, it's true. The place is an absolute mess. I'm not sure about the air conditioning. I'm in and out so much, I never really pay much attention. It's true that the building is not secure. We have citizens wandering into the most secure areas of that building because the doors don't get fixed. Wow. That is among a myriad of other problems. This is what I got yesterday because the story persisted about the air conditioner, I mean. It's official. The air conditioning is out, and all of the patrol levels of that department, or apartment, I don't know. It appears as if they don't plan on fixing it anytime soon because we have some very large, expensive cooling fans down there. They have some ceiling tiles taken out, possibly trying to find a way to fix it. And you can smell the mold in here.
Wow.
Who knows? But based on what we already know, I don't see that happening for a while, if at all. I think if OSHA came in here, they'd condemn the building. And there's a couple more that we'll skip because, well, we'll just skip those for now.
And I also heard, on top of the air conditioning issue, that they had some problems with the toilets where they don't work and all sorts of other issues that would make it highly inconvenient to work in that building.
And bats.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
I believe it. Nothing surprises me at this point.
But, you know, it's so you want to blame somebody. You want to point a finger. You want to say, who's let this happen? But, you know, and Scott Hughes said this last week in talking about the first mayoral forum at Agoraphobia Borealis. I just added a little couple of syllables there. The point being, he said, where Ali looked good, where Ms. Tyler, where Mayor Tyler looked good was, she seemed mayoral in the sense that all the other candidates said, I'm going to do this, I want to do that, here's my pie in the sky dream. And he said, her comments are rooted in reality. She's seen the city budget for the last 4 years. She knows what we have and what we don't have. And right now we can sit here and say, I wish A or B or C were fixed. Or how did A or B or C? Erin's last week going crazy about the fountains downtown. But you know what? Money is what money is. And right now we are not flush with cash. 649, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Your money now is just ahead. Here's Ruben.
Looks like I-20 westbound's got to clear all the way to Dallas right now, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-49 south near Kings Highway. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
The KEEL Mayoral Forum. It's coming up Tuesday, August 7th at 7 a.m. Tune in to 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
.652 KEEL Sports.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. The Houston Astros traded for troubled Toronto closer Roberto Osuna, who was suspended by Major League Baseball in June for violating the league's domestic abuse policy. The Blue Jays made it clear they did not want Osuna back after his suspension of 75 games. Houston has a zero-tolerance policy toward abuse of any kind, but they feel Osuna has shown remorse and has turned a corner. Several Astros are taking a wait-and-see approach to Osuna's arrival in about a week or so and the possible repercussions. In Seattle last night, Nelson Cruz's two-run double provided all the offense in the Mariners' 2-0 win over the Astros. James Paxton threw 7 shutout innings to get the win. Houston has lost 5 straight. Their lead over Seattle has been whittled down to just 3 games. Shin Soo Choo blasted 2 homers and drove in 4 runs for Texas in their 9-5 win at Arizona. In Natchitoches today, Northwestern State's Demons report to campus before the first practices of the fall get underway tomorrow in Brad Laird's first year as the head football coach. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Do me a favor there, amigo.
Yes.
Go to Mike Johnson's, Congressman Mike Johnson's Facebook page.
Mike Johnson.
Yeah. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. I think the article I have here is from, I think it's the Advocate, I believe. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, Louisiana's highest-ranking member of Congress since the late Hale Boggs, didn't take long to climb to the top of the House Republican establishment. A key step along the way was his term as chairman. Did you find it?
I'm on his page.
His term as chairman of the Republican Study Committee, a large caucus of conservative members. You'll find a Mike Johnson comment on his Facebook page, I think. It appears that United States Representative Mike Johnson of Bossier City would like to follow in Scalise's footsteps. Johnson, first elected to represent District 4 in 2016, has declared his candidacy for the post next year. Got the same thing on Mike's page?
Yeah.
His exact words are,
I am truly honored to have been asked by so many of my colleagues to consider serving as chairman of the Republican Study Committee, the largest caucus of conservatives in Congress. After much prayer and deliberation, I have decided to throw my hat in the ring. The chairman election will be held in mid-November. So far, I'm unopposed.
awesome. 656, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Here's Rush.
Folks, you remember that sad video of the starving polar bear? National Geographic posted it last December with the caption, "This is what climate change looks like." It became their most viewed web video ever. The drive-bys picked up the story, calling it gut-wrenching and soul-crushing, blaming Republicans for global warming, killing this poor polar bear. The video was ultimately shared with 2.5 billion people. But now the photographer, Christina Mittermeier, says, never mind. In the upcoming issue of National Geographic, she says that her team lost control of the narrative because people missed the nuances. What nuances? Well, that she had no idea why the polar bear was on its last legs. In an editor's note, National Geographic admits there's no way to know for certain why this bear was on the verge of death. Sounds familiar. In fact, I found a similar quote. Nobody knows why this bear didn't make it. It could have been sick, which happens in nature, but we do know this. A soul-crushing video blaming global warming is total BS. Who said that? Me, the day that video was released. It didn't take me 7 months to figure it out, which is why I tell you, do not doubt me. Just don't. There are a lot of warnings you don't want to miss, like a sign saying bridge out up ahead. But in the digital world, there may be no warning when it comes to cyber threats. That's why the new LifeLock Identity Theft Protection now adds Norton Security. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect threats to your identity, and Norton Security protects your devices from ransomware, emerging viruses, and other online threats. And if you have a problem, their agents will work with you to fix it. Now, of course, no one can stop every cyber threat or prevent all identity theft or even monitor all transactions in all businesses. But having new LifeLock with Norton means that they'll warn you about the threats you could otherwise miss on your own. Don't wait, folks. Join now. Get an extra 10% off your first year. Call 800-440-4833 or go to lifelock.com and use the promo code RUSH for an extra 10% off.
We have reports of a closure this morning on the exit ramp from I-220 eastbound to Benton Road in Bossier City. Other than that, things are still looking nice and clear for your early morning drive to work. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Is it still lightning out? KEELAccuWeather.com forecast, cloudy. Got a chance of rain off and on today, near 90 the high. Right now, 73 at Keel.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning. It's 7:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Erin gone for the week, back on Monday. Matt in the Erin chair. Local news up next.
3 folks got arrested in Shreveport after a midday Donnybrook. We'll be talking about that. Caddo Sheriff's deputies find a ton of pot. Well, not quite a ton, but there's a lot of it. And a missing airman was found.
When Matt says Donnybrook, what he means is the bullets were flying. We will discuss.
Well, fists first.
And then the bullets were flying. Is the national media about to turn on Dak Prescott? I think they may be. What did he say to incur their future wrath? I'll let you guys know. Plus Fletcher in sports, traffic, and weather. It's all coming up this hour, and it's right here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
3 arrested in midday melee in Shreveport. The brawl broke out around noon in the 3500 block of Hardy Street. According to police, T. Darby's dog relieved itself on Tamiko and Gregory Wharf's property, and that sparked a violent outbreak. Several bystanders allegedly attempted to break up the brawl, but Gregory pulled out a handgun and fired several shots at a tree, causing people to scatter. All 3 faced disturbing the peace charges. Gregory Wharf also faces charges for illegal use of a weapon. Caddo Sheriff's deputies find over 20 pounds of pot on a Greyhound bus. The deputies were conducting a routine check of buses at the downtown Murphy Street facility when a canine hit on a duffel bag full of marijuana. The bag contained 25.8 pounds of pot with an estimated street value of over $115,000. There's no identification on the bag, so no arrests have been made. An investigation into the discovery is ongoing. The bus was headed to Vicksburg, Mississippi. 19-year-old Philip Woods of Spring Hill was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served for the 2017 killing of a 16-year-old Airline high school student. Woods shot the boy in June of last year outside the home of the victim's father. The boy had been shot twice and died in his father's arms. The victim was a member of the Airline High wrestling team. Woods was originally charged with second-degree murder by a grand jury, which could have brought life in prison without parole. However, Woods was allowed to plead out to a lesser charge of manslaughter. Several state parks are getting ready to reopen. Matt Doyle had details on that.
Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungusser says the state is officially reopening cabins at Lake Bistineau, Lake Foss Point, and Tickfaw State Park. Assistant Secretary and Director of Louisiana State Parks Gene Reynolds says they took a beating in 2016.
Some of the cabins had as much as 8 or 9 feet of water go through there.
But they're back up and ready for families of 6 to 8 people.
Very pristine, and I think, anybody going to these cabins would have a wonderful time.
Reynolds says it's a great excuse to put down the phone and pick up the rod.
Get away from the cell phones and that sort of thing and enjoy nature.
I'm Matt Doyle.
Advocates are ramping up to campaign to convince voters to vote yes to the unanimous jury verdict constitutional amendment on this fall's ballot. The amendment requires over 50% of voters in the fall to back it and would undo the Jim Crow-era legislation that sets up Louisiana as a legal outlier in the American justice system. Alexandria lawyer Ed Tarpley says the law's racist roots need to be addressed.
The history of this law is why people labored in ignorance for so long, because they didn't know the truth. Once you know the history of the law, then you have to vote to repeal this.
Louisiana is one of 2 states that don't require unanimous jury verdicts. Westbound I-220 in Bossier's back open after being closed for several hours due to a wreck. A truck carrying a load of asphalt and tar overturned on the interstate near the Market Street exit around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It took until 11 p.m. last evening to clean up the mess and get the roadway back open. And a missing Barksdale airman has been found. Airman First Class Robert Mayfield is at a Shreveport hospital after being found by Shreveport police sleeping on a park bench near Alexander Avenue. Police say that Mayfield wasn't hurt and was cooperative after being discovered. Mayfield went missing from near Brentwood Hospital last Wednesday. Authorities were worried he may have intended to do himself harm. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Ten past 7 o'clock. KEEL traffic update. Yo, Ruben.
Keeping an eye right now on some slow-moving traffic at the intersection of Murphy Street and Texas Avenue. And we're dealing with a closure on I-220 eastbound. The exit ramp to Benton Road is closed in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. The KEEL app, a free download presented by Office Furniture Source. Yesterday, what time was it? In the 8 o'clock hour, we talked about the new NFL stuff.
Yeah.
I want to cover that again because if there is, I mean, it's they just can't seem. When I say they, I guess what I mean is Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner.
How does he keep getting a job? I've been trying to figure that out for years.
Google something for me. Literally, type in Roger Goodell salary.
Oh, I know. Oof.
What is it, like $100 million, $20 million, $30 million bucks a year? It's insane.
It's 31.7, but he gets like all sorts of benefits and blah, blah, blah. So like while his base is 31.7, he's making well above that with all the bonuses.
So his base salary is $30 million a year. I've told you guys this before. Here's a rule of thumb. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and it was Crystal, and she's talking about like she's young and she's trying to save money and she wants to be financially secure, and we're talking about how to do it and things like that. And I said, always remember $1 million a year. If somebody makes $1 million a year, they're making $20,000 a week. So 30 times 20, he's making literally about $500,000 a week. Roger Goodell is.
And he's a complete buffoon.
You really think so?
I do.
So you don't think that I'm not disagreeing with you. I just want to know what you think. You think that everything that's going on in the NFL is of his doing and of his mismanagement, or is he just at sort of the crossroads? Is he the guy in charge at this perfect storm of problems?
Well, at the end of the day, he's the boss. He's the guy that influences, puts out ideas, and obviously whatever he's putting out there sucks, and he's got no control over his committees.
But he and all the NFL higher-ups, seem at this point their number one. If you had to say, Matt, what is Roger Goodell's number one? What is his number one priority? What his number one concern? I would say maybe you would. They are focusing on brain trauma. Fair
Player
enough.
Safety, yeah.
Now, here are, and if you didn't see the article, we talked about this yesterday. Late last week, the Philadelphia Eagles team, the players, met with a number of NFL officials. And they sort of went over the new the head contact rules for the year. And this is ESPN. A presentation this week, meaning last week, by NFL referees to the Philadelphia Eagles on the new helmet rule is causing frustration among the players. That, according to team members, and has created further confusion for some about what is expected of them. Under the new rule, now previously we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Previously we talked about how all the targeting, all the helmet hits, everything like that has sort of been isolated to the defensive secondary. Under the new NFL rule, a player will be penalized 15 yards and potentially fined or ejected. Now follow me on this and I'm trying to think about some of the great running backs in NFL history. Earl Campbell, some of the guys that just knock people on their ass. Bo Jackson, Earl Campbell, Jim Brown, Larry Zonka, Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton. Walter Payton never went out of bounds.
Nope.
I'm taking somebody with me. I'm taking a defensive back. There's a price to pay for hitting Walter Payton, and I, Walter Payton, am going to make you pay it. Ready? Under the new rule, a player will be penalized 15 yards and potentially fined or ejected for lowering his head to initiate and make contact with his helmet against an opponent. Oh, wait a second, Robert. That's just isolated. That just pertains to the defensive secondary, right? Not anymore. The rule applies to not only tacklers, but linemen and ball carriers as well. Read that again. And think about Emmitt Smith, Jim Brown, Walter Payton, Earl Campbell. The rule applies to not only tacklers, but linemen and ball carriers as well. The concern for running backs among the teams is that they are going to have to retrain, no kidding, is that they are going to have to retrain themselves after years of running a certain way.
Well, you're completely changing the motion of any receiver or running back, because when you go to cover the ball so you don't get stripped, what's your move? You put it in your breadbasket, you put your shoulders down, which automatically brings your head down. You idiots.
You know, you say you idiots, but I'm going to read a headline to you. We'll go to break. We'll cover it when we get back, okay? NFL concussion claims. Ready? I mean, I don't mean to sound cynical, but is it possibly just as much about money as it is protecting the players?
It's always about money.
NFL concussion claims hit $500 million, $500 million in less than 2 years. We'll cover that when we get back. 18 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic and weather just ahead, plus Fletch and sports coming up on KEEL. Nineteen past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic. Here's Ruben.
The intersection at Hollywood Avenue and Linwood Avenue is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Airline Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Time for KEEL Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. The Houston Astros traded for troubled Toronto closer Roberto Osuna, who was suspended by Major League Baseball in June for violating the league's domestic abuse policy. The Blue Jays made it clear they did not want Osuna back after his suspension of 75 games. Houston has a zero-tolerance policy toward abuse of any kind, but they feel Osuna has shown remorse and has turned a corner. Several Astros are taking a wait-and-see approach to Osuna's arrival in about a week or so and the possible repercussions. In Seattle last night, Nelson Cruz's two-run double provided all the offense in the Mariners' 2-0 win over the Astros. James Paxton threw 7 shutout innings to get the win. Houston has lost 5 straight, and their lead over Seattle has been whittled down to just 3 games. Shin-Soo Choo blasted 2 homers and drove in 4 runs for Texas in their 9-5 win at Arizona. In Natchitoches today, Northwestern State's Demons report to campus before first practices of the fall get underway tomorrow in Brad Laird's first year as the head football coach. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Is the Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame game this weekend?
Thursday.
What?
Yeah.
Like day after tomorrow?
Yeah, like August 2nd, Thursday.
Wow. Now, I've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I've never been to the, and interestingly, it's in Canton, Ohio, which is kind of close to Cleveland, and I lived there twice but never went. And I drove by it once because the highway goes right by. And it looks like a great big orange juicer to me. It just looks like, no, I'm totally, that just, whoever designed that, it's interesting. Baseball Hall of Fame, pretty awesome. Okay, so we started off with Roger Goodell, and you said he makes $30 million a year, kind of what a doofus. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, really? Is he mismanaging things? Is he causing problems? Or is he the commissioner at the time when all this stuff is happening? And one of the things that's happening is they're trying to find a solution. Both, you're rolling your eyes. When I say they are trying to find a solution, do you disagree with, let me finish the sentence, I apologize. They are trying to find a solution, both physical and financial, to brain trauma. And you said, tell everybody what you said if you want to repeat it.
Well, according to new...
No. Say what you said if you want to say it. Because I got news for you. I play golf with a bunch of guys who say exactly the same thing.
Well, you signed the contract, you take the money, you know the risks. You can't really complain when you get hurt. You know that's part of what you're signing up for. If you're taking that $2 million check, you know that's part of the duties. Can you imagine any other job like, well, I don't really like paper cuts, so I'm not dealing with the printer, but I'm still going to take your paycheck. No, you signed on to do the job, do the damn job, and quit bitching about it.
Now, on the other hand, what is the moral responsibility of the league, of the owners, of the commissioner, if they would take the stance? Those guys, I'm going to make them sign a waiver to play. I'm not going to let them sue if they get brain trauma 20 years down the line. What is the moral responsibility of the league to the people they employ? That's the question. Maybe that's the tightrope Roger Goodell walks. Now, he may screw it up every now and then, but maybe he's actually earning a little more of that $30 million than people give him credit for. Here is the NFL's latest problem. Under the new rule, this is in effect starting when? Thursday night. Under the new rule, a player will be penalized 15 yards and potentially fined or ejected for lowering his head to initiate and make contact with his helmet against an opponent. Here's the kicker, so to speak. The rule applies now. The rule applies to not only tacklers, but linemen and ball carriers as well. And I said in the last segment, imagine a game where Bo Jackson, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Earl Campbell, sorry, it's 4th and goal on the 1, and you need a yard to win the game, and you got to run into the line upright?
You might as well just turn it into the Flag Football League.
NFL concussion claims hit $500 million in less than 2 years. More than $500 million in claims were approved Monday under the NFL's concussion settlement. Nearly a decade earlier than league officials, nearly a decade earlier than league officials estimated they would reach that amount. Claims administrators in the settlement released an updated report on the concussion settlement information website saying that $502 million had been approved in less than 2 years of the settlement. The original actuarial estimates from the league estimated a little more than $400 million would be paid out in the first 10 years. So they say, well, it's probably going to cost us $400 million over the first 10 years. No, it's $500 million in 24 months. Attorneys for the retired players adjusted their estimates on the total payout of expected claims earlier this month, saying the settlement would likely reach $1.4 billion, almost $500 million more than the NFL originally estimated. And the NFL they're trying not to be, but the NFL literally is, football literally is, an assembly line of brain trauma. And so they can pay out the $500 million, and it's not going to stop with that. That's the whole point.
Well, back in the day, in all fairness, all these players that are suing and getting money, a lot of those guys were misdiagnosed and didn't take care of their injuries properly because the league and the teams just kind of let them do whatever they wanted.
Almost 2,000 claims have been filed in less than 2 years, that according to the update filed Monday. Hundreds more of the nearly 20,000 retired players have signed up to be pre-qualified to file claims than were expected, outpacing all previous projections. As of Monday, insurance administrators say that more than 7,000 medical appointments to assess neurological baselines had been made and more than 6,000 had been attended. I'll repeat myself. Football literally is. It's an assembly line for brain trauma, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And maybe Roger Goodell, in the crosshairs of this physical and financial crisis, doesn't know. Maybe he's doing a little more to earn that $30 million than he gets credit for.
Well, here's the weird thing to me. You look at other sports, when a player gets concussion, whether you're talking about hockey or soccer or whatever, a player's out 30 days minimum. In football, they're back on the field playing, practicing in a week.
Do you know what the protocol is? I mean, do you know? Do you know that for a fact?
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember the running back for Devontae Freeman from the Atlanta Falcons. Had a concussion on Sunday, was on the practice field on Wednesday, was playing in the game next Sunday. Maybe you should fix that before trying to ruin the sport.
Gonna find out how those new rules work starting Thursday night. Can you imagine a game where a lineman and or a running back cannot institute contact with their head?
Especially a game involving the Ravens and the Bears.
29 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Matt has local news coming up next. Meanwhile, here's Ruben.
Keeping an eye right now on some slow-moving traffic at the intersection of Murphy Street and Texas Avenue, and we're dealing with a closure on I-220 eastbound. The exit ramp to Benton Road is closed in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
19-year-old Philip Woods of Spring Hill was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served for the 2017 killing of a 16-year-old Airline High School student. Woods shot the boy in June of last year outside the home of the victim's father. The boy had been shot twice and died in his father's arms. 3 arrested in midday melee in Shreveport. The brawl broke out around noon in the 3500 block of Hardy Street. According to police, T. Darby's dog relieved itself on Tamiko and Gregory Wharf's property, and that sparked the violent outbreak. Several bystanders allegedly attempted to break up the brawl, but Gregory pulled out a handgun and fired several shots at a tree, causing people to scatter. All 3 face disturbing the peace charges. Gregory Wharf also faces additional charges for illegal use of a weapon. Caddo Sheriff's deputies find over 20 pounds of pot on a Greyhound bus. The deputies were conducting a routine check of buses at the downtown Murphy Street facility when a canine hit on a duffel bag full of marijuana. The bag contained 25.8 pounds of pot with an estimated street value of over $115,000. There was no identification on the bag, so no arrests have been made. An investigation into the discovery is ongoing. The bus was headed to Vicksburg, Mississippi. The Louisiana Department of Education have announced the most recent recipients of the titles of Teacher and Principal of the Year. Kevin Barnhart has the details.
The recipients were announced with the top honors for Principal of the Year going to Dr. Eric Davis of Wasman High School in the City of Monroe School District. Davis on the key to his school success.
We don't believe in mediocrity. We always believe in shooting for excellence. We're not going to settle for the status quo. We're going to keep pushing.
Teacher of the Year went to Spencer Kuiper of Elm Grove Middle School in Bossier Parish, who unveils his methods.
Going into education with an open mind, ready to learn and be better every day, and loving what I do.
I'm Kevin Barnhart.
Westbound I-220 in Bossier is back open after being closed for several hours due to a wreck. A truck carrying a load of asphalt and tar overturned on the interstate near the Market Street exit around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It took until 11 p.m. last evening to clean up the mess and get the roadway back open. A missing Barksdale airman has been found. Airman First Class Robert Mayfield is at a Shreveport hospital after being found sleeping on a park bench near Alexander Avenue. Police say that Mayfield wasn't hurt and was cooperative after being discovered. Mayfield went missing from near Brentwood Hospital last Wednesday. Authorities were worried he may have intended to do himself harm. And Mayor Lo Walker from Bossier and Mayor Ollie Tyler from Shreveport are combining forces to help kids out this school year. The annual Mayor's Backpack Giveaway will take place today at the Bossier Civic Center. The event runs from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can get all the details at KEELnews.com. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
.101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert and Erin, 736. Now, we just did football stuff, and so I don't want to go right back into Dak. But basically what happened was Dak Prescott said, hold on, I got the quote here. Blah, blah, blah. Anthem is not the time or place for protest. And basically what I said was that now, or was going to say, Dak has a target on his back now, especially by, I would venture to say, the folks at ESPN, which are far, far left-leaning. And now that Dak Prescott has come down on the side of America and patriotism and the military and police, that's how it's going to be perceived by ESPN, and their response is going to be, who are you to defend those things when we are opposed to each and every one of them? So just watch yourself, young man. We will no longer, we've been favorable to you, we've been nice to you, we've taken care of you, we've interviewed you, we've said good things about you, but now that you are on the side of America and the military and the police, there will be a price to pay, and we, ESPN, we'll make you pay it. Steve Parr is going to be here just after 8 o'clock from American Ground Radio. I was watching Tucker Carlson last night, for actually listening in the car, and they were talking about the fallout, if you will, from the Trump tax cuts. And they had a Democrat guy on there, and he was talking about how, those tax cuts are bad. It's not working for America. Those tax cuts, it's done more damage than good. And I'm thinking, remember about the imaginary guy I mentioned last week? I told the story about the imaginary guy in the car who yelled at the radio, or the imaginary guy in my living room who yelled at the TV, and it turned out to really be me. I'm yelling at the television, and I didn't. Who's the guy yelling at the television? Oh, it's me. Well, once again, last night, I was the guy yelling at the television, and when Steve, or at the radio, and when Steve is here just after 8 o'clock, tax cuts don't work for America. Wait a second. That is one of the things we will tackle. 739, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. When we get back, Matt is going to talk to us about Facebook. You said you could explain to me how one guy managed to lose like $15 or $20 billion in one day.
Oh, that thing.
That little thing. Matt's going to talk to us about Facebook and about an adult movie star who had a tragic mishap at a hockey game not all that long ago. 7:39 traffic time. Ruben's here.
The intersection at Kings Highway and Linwood Avenues dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Benton Road southbound, just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
.1017 FM, 710 KEEL, Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Because we talked about all the bat stuff at Fairgrounds Field. And my friends came up with an idea. We came up with an idea this weekend for a new DJ name. It was either Bobby Guano or Guano Bobby. And the consensus seems to be that Bobby Guano. See, I like Guano Bobby better. Because there was a DJ in New York for a lot of years back in the 70s, Buona Johnny, and he was awesome. Buona Johnny was awesome. And so Guano Bobby sort of sounds like that. But you think that Bobby Guano is better?
Oh, Bobby Guano's a winner.
As do most of the KEEL listeners. And in fact, someone offered to write a jingle for me, Guano in the Morning, and they said the jokes write themselves. Okay, so Mark Zuckerberg loses about, what was it, $15 billion in one day.
Yeah.
Facebook stock fell, what was it, like about $155 billion they lost in total net value or something?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah. 119.
Okay. What happened? Can you, as a millennial, as somebody who looks at the tech industry a lot, follows the tech industry a lot with Facebook and Twitter and all the websites, all these big money-making billionaire websites, can you sort of sum up for us what happened? Who pulled the rug out from under the stock?
Well, the Q2 reports came out, all the financials, and it didn't look as good as they thought it was. And because basically when you're selling the internet, you're selling imagination. There's no tangible product.
So it's like radio.
Well, there is a tangible product here. You and I are going to be here every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, they're just throwing out theories hoping they work. Like, well, you know, we're going to run this new ad program through Instagram and it'll be great. And then the numbers come back, oh, people don't really look at it like we thought we did. Whoops.
So did it have to do with the number of users being down or the number of viewers declining?
Users were down. It didn't grow as much as they thought.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
For a year or two now, maybe even longer, all I've heard about Facebook is two things. One, all the cool kids have been off Facebook forever, that it's now just a hangout for grown-ups. Has that helped Facebook grow? Is that true or not true? And or B, Facebook has been described as growing more and more and more commercial in the sense that, as I've explained to a lot of advertisers when they come in, it behooves you to have a good Facebook page because to a great degree, and I learned this from you, Facebook is sort of the new Yellow Pages and you're writing your own ad. Fair?
It is, but it's not a place where kids are just fleeing from anymore. And Facebook is more than just Facebook. They own Instagram and several other properties that come under the Facebook umbrella. So when people say, well, nobody uses Facebook anymore, chances are, even if you aren't on the actual Facebook, you use a Facebook product. And, you know, you can't really blame Facebook for trying to cash in for having a product that billions of people or whatever across the globe use.
Absolutely not.
It's just that, you know, investors are looking at this going, all right, well, they expect to reach X amount of people and have this much success, and then all of a sudden you fall halfway.
Was that sort of like is this sort of like a one company 1929 stock market crash? I mean, was it that sort of was it people that owned Facebook? Did they panic and sell?
They did panic, but this isn't the first huge drop Facebook has had this year. It's been sort of a rough year. They were up, and then when the Cambridge Analytica
info
came out, it tanked even lower than it is now.
Do you think that down the line, not only places like Facebook, but Twitter and that whole shadow banning scandal, we talked about that last week, where Vice News, and they're on HBO, it's as radically left a news program as you will ever see. When Vice News reports that Twitter is doing shadow banning, after a year or more when Twitter's been denying, we don't do what shadow banning is, if you are on Twitter and the problem is that Twitter has targeted, now it's coming out, they've targeted political conservatives. And so what's happened is, if you as a political conservative, what's the Daily Caller guy's name? Ben Shapiro. Let's say theoretically Ben Shapiro on Twitter has 1 million followers. And he sends out a tweet, and Ben Shapiro, can see the tweet. The problem is, all his followers can't. That's how shadow banning works. Do you think that these political stances, these liberal political stances that Facebook and Twitter have taken, do you think that's hurting them in the open market?
I wouldn't say the political stance of it as much as the underhanded business practice of it.
Ooh, good point. In other words, y'all are being shady, and if you can be shady with this guy, you might be shady with me.
Not only are you being shady, but you're not delivering results, so you pair those two together, maybe it'd be better if I took my however much stocks cost, $176 a share. Maybe I should take that money and put it on another horse.
That, amigo, is a hell of a point. Okay, so as it stands now, well, after they're tanking, that's the interesting thing, because Erin said it was Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO, and I had read a couple of stories that there are, I don't know exactly how the corporate structure works at Facebook, but what it said was that there might be sort of a junta to overthrow Zuckerberg, a coup to eliminate him as CEO. Is there any possibility in your mind of that happening?
God, I don't think so. I just don't see that happening. It's just one of those things where unless he does something so horrible and egregious,
So in your mind, he is not, Mark Zuckerberg right now has not yet reached the point of where you consider him to be the, let's say, Roger Goodell of Facebook.
No, because if you look at Facebook's history, even when they bottom out, they always come back. So even though they kind of tanked this week, in a couple of weeks, they'll probably be back up.
Like Erin said about Zuckerberg last week, God, how do you sleep when you lose $20 billion in one day? I said, you roll over and think, you've got another $100 million. 749, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel traffic and weather updates coming up right now. Here's Ruben.
The intersection at Lakeshore Drive and Hearn Avenue is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Old Minden Road in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
The top 5 candidates for mayor meet head-to-head in a mayoral forum on KEEL Tuesday morning, August 7th. It all kicks off at 7 a.m., so be listening to 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Eight before 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. The Houston Astros traded for troubled Toronto closer Roberto Osuna, who was suspended by Major League Baseball in June for violating the league's domestic abuse policy. The Blue Jays made it clear they did not want Osuna back after his suspension of 75 games. Houston has a zero-tolerance policy toward abuse of any kind, but they feel Osuna has shown remorse and has turned a corner. Several Astros are taking a wait-and-see approach to Osuna's arrival in about a week or so and the possible repercussions. In Seattle last night, Nelson Cruz's 2-run double provided all the offense in the Mariners' 2-0 win over the Astros. James Paxton threw 7 shutout innings to get the win. Houston has lost 5 straight, and their lead over Seattle has been whittled down to just 3 games. Shin Soo Choo blasted 2 homers and drove in 4 runs for Texas in their 9-5 win at Arizona. In Natchitoches today, Northwestern State's Demons report to campus before the first practices of the fall get underway tomorrow in Brad Laird's first year as the head football coach. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Good morning, 7:55. It's 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. We were talking yesterday. We've got just a couple of seconds here. Have you seen the Robin Williams HBO documentary? What is it? Come Inside My Mind or something like that. And there are parts that are really good. There are parts of it that are incredibly interesting and insightful. But one of the parts that I found just really kind of funny is, I guess, toward the end of his life. I mean, obviously he didn't know it was toward the end of his life, but he did a lot. Robin Williams did a lot of touring in the Middle East and around the world to U.S. military bases, a lot of USO shows with Lewis Black. And Lewis Black talks about that, and they show some clips. And one of the things I found really interesting is at one of the military bases, and maybe I'm missing something here, and I don't mean to sound like off color or tacky or tasteless, but at one of the military bases, Robin Williams is on stage doing his bit, his act, and he notices that at the corner of the stage, there's someone doing sign language for the deaf to the crowd. And I'm thinking, oh, wait just a second. If it is an audience of military people in Afghanistan, there's nobody in the crowd who could get into the military if they were deaf. Why is somebody on the corner of the stage signing to a military crowd somewhere in the mountains of Afghanistan? And then to make the whole thing awesome, he spotted the guy, and he goes over, and he starts being so grossly, horribly, awfully profane. I mean, it's just hysterical. And every time the most scatological references you can think of, and the guy is signing each of those to the crowd. 756, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Here's Sean Hannity.
Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
I guess it's hard to get people motivated for midterm elections. Historically, that's proven to be the case. They'll come out for presidential elections. This is just as important. I don't know what else to say except that they don't have, meaning the Democrats, they've got their old playbook, and they add the following. They want the crumbs back. They want to impeach Trump. They want to stop the investigations. They want open borders, and they want Obamacare. Can you name, here's a test, anyone listening, can you name any other thing that they are advocating for? Can you name anything that's positive for the lives and the future of the American people? Because if you see it or hear it, tell us. We need to know.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Buying a home should be one of life's best experiences, but today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher payments. And that can turn a great experience into an anxious one. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. It's called the Power Buying Process. We check your income, assets, and credit to provide you with a verified approval, which can give you the strength of a cash buyer. Once verified, you qualify for our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days while you find your new home. Then, once you've found your new home, if rates have gone up, your rate stays locked. But if rates have gone down, your rate drops, and you get to keep that new lower rate. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Looking right now at some slow-moving traffic on Clyde Fant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to construction. And we have some traffic delays on I-20 westbound near Spring and Market. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zaire.
Hope you're watching on Facebook. It's awesome. Right now, 73, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio joins us in the 8 o'clock hour. That is coming up next after Fox.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning. It's 8:03. Robert and Erin, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Erin off for the week, back on Monday in the Erin chair. Matt has local news that's coming up next.
A Greyhound bus in Shreveport got busted running drugs. We'll be talking about that. Spring Hill killer gets his sentence, and I-220 in Bossier is back open after being shut down most of the evening.
Steve Parr from American Ground Radio, heard nightly here on KEEL 6 till 7, joins us for the 8 o'clock hour. Going to talk about Trump and immigration and all those wildfires in California and taxes. Lots of cool stuff because he's a cool guy. Just thought I'd throw that in. Fletcher in sports, traffic, and weather. It's all coming up this hour right here on KEEL.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Caddo Sheriff's deputies find over 20 pounds of pot on a Greyhound bus. The deputies were conducting a routine check of buses at the downtown Murphy Street facility when a K-9 hit on a duffel bag full of marijuana. The bag contained 25.8 pounds of pot with an estimated street value of $115,000. There was no identification on the bag, so no arrests have been made. An investigation into the discovery is ongoing. The bus was headed to Vicksburg, Mississippi. A Spring Hill killer gets sentenced. Greg Adams has that.
19-year-old Philip Woods of Spring Hill was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served for the 2017 killing of a 16-year-old Airline High School student. Woods shot the boy in June of last year outside the home of the victim's father. The boy had been shot twice and died in his father's arms. The victim was a member of the airline wrestling team. Woods was originally charged with second-degree murder by a grand jury, which could have brought life in prison without parole. However, Woods was allowed to plead out to a lesser charge of manslaughter and has now been sentenced to less than a decade behind bars. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Greg Adams.
Westbound I-220 in Bossier is back open after being closed for several hours due to a wreck. A truck carrying a load of asphalt and tar overturned on the interstate near the Market Street exit around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It took until 11 p.m. last evening to clean up the mess and get the roadway back open. A missing Barksdale airman has been found. Airman First Class Robert Mayfield is at a Shreveport hospital after being found by Shreveport police officers sleeping on a park bench near Alexander Avenue. Police say that Mayfield wasn't hurt and was cooperative after being discovered. Mayfield went missing from near Brentwood Hospital last Wednesday. Authorities were worried he may have intended to do himself harm. 3 arrested in midday melee in Shreveport. The brawl broke out around noon in the 3500 block of Hardy Street. According to police, T. Darby's dog relieved itself on Tamiko and Gregory Wharf's property, and that sparked the violent outbreak. Several bystanders attempted to break up the brawl, but Gregory pulled out a handgun and fired several shots at a tree, causing people to scatter. All 3 face disturbing the peace charges. Gregory Wharf also faces additional charges for illegal use of a weapon. Alexandria lawyer Ed Tarpley laid out his case for why voters should support requiring unanimous jury verdicts in criminal cases. Matt Doyle has that story.
Tarpley says the law's Jim Crow-era roots have led to a situation which threatens the liberty of all Louisiana citizens.
It was an evil and wicked law because it deprived people of their rights of citizenship. And it has continued to have that effect because all of us has been deprived of the full protection of the right to trial by jury.
The amendment gained shocking bipartisan support in the legislature on its way to final passage. Louisiana is one of 2 states to not require unanimous jury verdicts. I'm Matt Doyle.
And Mayor Lo Walker from Bossier and Mayor Ollie Tyler from Shreveport are combining forces to help kids out this school year. The annual Mayor's Backpack Giveaway will take place today at the Bossier Civic Center. The event runs from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can get all the details on the event at KEELnews.com. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Nine past 8 o'clock, time for KEEL traffic. Ruben is here.
Still keeping a close eye on that backed-up traffic on Clyde Fant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to a hazmat situation. Police are on the scene. And we have some traffic delays on Swan Lake Road just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
News brought to you by Arklatex. Good morning. It's 12 past 8 o'clock. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. Erin out today, back 1 week from yesterday. Today's Tuesday, right? Hey, I covered my ailments earlier in the show. I'm not going through them all again. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio joins us. Good to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
I asked Steve a couple of seconds ago, I said, so what are you up to lately? Are you doing anything fun? And he said, well, I'm building a radio studio and working on my book.
Yeah.
And I said, I had lunch with my brother and took a nap yesterday. So building a radio studio.
Yeah, American Ground Radio's building a studio out. Lewis is, because he's got Avalone Ironworks and all the doors and all the garage. So he's got a construction company, and they're very good at what they do.
Yeah.
So built out a studio, and coming up pretty shortly here, we'll be broadcasting from our brand new studio.
I saw the photo on Facebook. It looks awesome. That TV is hung perfectly. I mean,
I told you the Avalone folks know what they're doing.
That bubble is right in the middle, my
it's
friend.
right there.
So your book, it's called The Second Sentence.
Yeah.
Tell us about you started telling us about that last time.
Yeah.
How is the progress?
Well, what I'm trying to do is I take the second sentence of the Declaration of Independence, and the whole premise of the book is that you can take any single political debate in America, and if you will run it through the filter of what the second sentence says about it, which is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed, that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, instituting new government in its place, based on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
I can vouch you didn't read that.
Yeah, that's I've been studying this. So the point is that there's so much in that second sentence. It's a long sentence, but there's so much in it that explains who we are, how our government should operate, what the role of government is, what the role of government is not, what we should do when government messes up, and all of our rights. And it's not just for federal government. This is for state, this is for local, this is from your school board all the way up. And it doesn't just apply to Americans. This applies to every single individual on the planet, because we were all created by the Creator.
You said off the air a couple of seconds ago, I said, so how's the book going? And you said, I am getting ready to start the middle part, and if this doesn't work, I'm kind of screwed.
Well, it's the middle part of the book where I really break down what each section of the sentence means. And what I'm trying to do is to make this so clear, so obvious, that everybody goes, why didn't I already think of this? And that's what the middle part of the book is, just to really spell that out. And so the middle part has to be right. And I'm not about to start it. I'm about to finish the middle part of the book. That's really where the meat of it is. And the end part is going to be where I take the modern examples of, say, the abortion debate, and we run it through the second sentence and show you how you can apply the second sentence to any situation, any discussion.
Would it be fair to describe you, pardon me, similar to myself, a strict constructionist?
Absolutely. But I'm even more than the whole reason the Constitution has the legal right to exist is because the second sentence of the Declaration of Independence says we had the right to alter or abolish a government. I go back to the Declaration. I think the Constitution needs to be in line with the Declaration.
See, what I say to people about the Constitution is basically there's nothing in the Constitution about health care, yet we have government health care.
Absolutely.
There's nothing in the Constitution about a Department of Education, yet we have a Department of Education.
That's exactly right.
And the only thing in the Constitution about guns is that the government should stay out of it, and yet we have an ongoing fight.
Well, and people think that's because we have rights that aren't rights. Democrats will say all the time, we have a right to health care. No, we do not. We have a right to pursue health. That's a very big difference, because right to health care means somebody has to provide you with something. When you have a right to pursue health, your health is dependent in large part upon choices you make. The responsibility shifts, and that's where the responsibility should be. It's the same thing with happiness. We don't have a right to happiness. We have a right to pursue happiness. And here's how you can tell whether you have a right to pursue it or whether it's something that you automatically get. We have a right to liberty. That's because you're born with liberty. You're created with liberty. You're not created with knowledge. When you're first born, you don't know anything. So you don't have a right to education. You have a right to pursue your education.
I was watching Tucker Carlson last night, and he, as he is prone to do, had an argument. Who'd have thought that?
What? Tucker?
Yeah. So he's got this Democrat guy on, and he's basically telling me that the tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts, Trump tax reform, the tax cuts don't work. It's not working. It's bad for America. And I was thinking, well, two things. One, when you say it's bad for America, it's not working, who's it not working for? I was thinking, Might not be working for big government.
Well, it's not working for Democrat politicians. Yeah.
It's not working for big government because they are getting less.
Right.
I've got more. It's not substantially more.
Right.
That's not really that big a deal. But you know what? It's working for me.
Yep.
And it's working for everybody who's not part of the big mammoth bureaucracy.
Here's all you need to know that he was wrong. Our growth in the second quarter of 4.1. Where did most of that growth come from?
Private sector.
Consumer spending, okay, because you have a little bit more money in your pocket, so you're spending more and you're saving more, but the spending went up, and corporate investment. Private sector corporate investment. Why are companies investing more now? Because they actually have more money. What does that investment money do? Are they investing it under a mattress? No, they're investing it by hiring more people. This is how the tax cuts are supposed to work. And the fact that the Democrat can't figure out how things are working when the numbers are sitting right in front of you means this person is either such an ideologue that they can't be swayed by reality, or this person's just lying because they're trying to fool you with their politics.
Do you think the term, and I've heard the term used before about Democrats of that ilk, proudly ignorant? Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, it may be proudly ignorant. It may just simply be they don't have a better message, and they've gotten so caught up in the idea of politics is all about messaging, whereas politics should be about people. And I think that if they've got that wrong mindset, they're going to come up with wrong answers.
Have you heard the campus reform bit that has to do with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Have you heard that? Who's going to pay for the programs bit yet? Have you heard that one?
I have, and then the people are like, I guess you and me.
Hold the thought. We'll play that again. We played it yesterday. We'll play it again when we get back, and I want to know what you think about it.
All right.
19 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio here for the rest of the hour. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping a close eye on that backed up traffic on Clyde Fant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to a hazmat situation. Police are on the scene. And we have some traffic delays on Swan Lake Road just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Twenty-one past 8 o'clock, time for KEEL Sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of
Right, and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Erin vacationing at Casa del McCarty, I assume, and recovering from her deer mishap. You know, she hit a deer, and it kind of messed her back up. So, Steve Parr from American Ground Radio is here. It is heard nightly, weeknights, 6 till 7, here at 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Sorry, the intimidation factor is weighing heavily.
We'll edit that out. It'll be fine.
For the network feed for Lewis, with Lewis R. Avalone. What I was going to talk about was, we were talking about, in the last segment, about your book, The Second Sentence, which is about the second sentence of the Constitution.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. And the things that are in it and not. And we got into, are you a strict constitutionalist?
Yeah.
And one of the things that has happened politically in the U.S. over the last, say, 6 or 8 weeks is the primary election win of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for Congress in Queens, New York. And she is an out-and-out, she says democratic socialist. I see those two terms as being at odds.
Yeah, it's like the People's Republic of North Korea.
But she is, makes no bones about it. She is an out-and-out socialist.
Right.
And so there's a podcast, a YouTube channel called Campus Reform. And the guy goes out and basically he talks to left-leaning, far-left people. And in this case, what he talks about is he talks to Ocasio-Cortez supporters and says, well, she has all these ideas about minimum wage and health care and free college. And they sort of get into how are we going to pay for that? And it's amazing what they just don't seem to know.
I'm Kevin Phillips with Campus Reform. Today we're in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's congressional district talking to her supporters about democratic socialism. Is it any different from regular socialism, and who's going to pay for all this free stuff? Let's see what they have to say. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, just elected, 28 years old, self-proclaimed democratic socialist, which has a lot of people talking. What are your views on her so far?
I've heard only positive things. We love her.
Yeah, we do love her. I voted for her because I'm from Queens.
It was great, and it's a breath of fresh air, and I hope it follows through into November.
I like her spirit, and that she's very different.
People tend to freak out when they hear the word socialism, applied to anything.
And why do you think that is?
I think there's this old way of thinking about it.
What do you think the government should be subsidizing? So her platform includes free health care, college tuition, minimum living wage, housing as a human right. Are those things that you think the government should be providing for people?
Absolutely.
Are those things that you would support?
Yes, it is.
Are those all things that you would support the government subsidizing?
100%.
I feel like everyone should have free education and health care.
How are we going to pay for those?
Oh, God.
Us,
I guess.
Yeah. Who, in your mind, should pay for all of the free things?
All of the free things? Well, some of it should come from taxes, but the government should pay for it.
But the government is funded by taxes.
Yeah.
I don't know where the money would come from, but they can figure it out.
Okay. More taxes on the rich people.
Yeah, for sure, man. They can afford it.
Tax corporations, let's tax the 1% and find a way to support a living wage.
The people with a good idea and a good reason to spend their tax money wouldn't mind actually paying more taxes.
There are so many of these countries out there that are employing a lot more socialism in their government and into their politics, and they're doing really well. So,
is Venezuela doing that?
Ooh, I don't know too much about Venezuela, honey. I think they need to. Are they still communist right now?
So they're technically socialist.
Okay.
Look at other countries. It works. Like other countries, you pay higher taxes, but your government takes care of you.
So when you see the social system failing in Venezuela, does that concern you?
Yes.
Obviously.
My family's Cuban, and I've seen the downfall of extreme leftism, but also I see how it boosts the community, and it has its up and downs, and I think we can definitely learn from history on that terms.
Okay.
Our country needs change, and if it has to be on the opposite side, on the extreme polar opposite side, maybe it's what we need.
Privatized healthcare is a huge issue, and if it was a government-funded thing, that would be, when there aren't...
Do you think the government would run it more efficiently?
In a perfect world, sure.
I'm liberal. I don't know exactly where I stand, but I know democratic socialist is better than conservative. It's just better than, it's the better option.
In what way?
When I think of it, I just think of more open-minded people that aren't as economically conserved.
You're rolling your eyes there, buddy. You want to talk about that when we get back?
Do I ever?
Okay, and I would venture that almost all of the folks we just heard are big global warming advocates. We can bring that up, too. 29 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel traffic.
Starting to see some slow-moving traffic on Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, and we're still keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on Clyde Fant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to a hazmat situation. Police are on the scene. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm and a high of 89 today. Turning clear, low 68 tonight. Lowering humidity, high 91 tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
Hour of information. KEEL News now.
19-year-old Philip Woods of Spring Hill was sentenced to 7 years in prison with credit for time served for the 2017 killing of a 16-year-old Airline High School student. Woods shot the boy in June of last year outside the home of the victim's father. The boy had been shot twice and died in his father's arms. 3 arrested in midday melee in Shreveport. The brawl broke out around noon in the 3500 block of Hardy Street. According to police, T. Darby's dog relieved itself on Tamiko and Gregory Wharf's property, and that sparked the violent outbreak. Several bystanders allegedly attempted to break up the brawl, but Gregory pulled out a handgun and fired several shots at a tree, causing people to scatter. All 3 face disturbing the peace charges. Gregory Wharf also faces additional charges for illegal use of a weapon. Caddo Sheriff's deputies find over 20 pounds of pot on a Greyhound bus. The deputies were conducting a routine check of buses at the downtown Murphy Street facility when a canine hit on a duffel bag full of marijuana. The bag contained 25.8 pounds of pot with an estimated street value of over $115,000. There was no identification on the bag, so no arrests have been made. An investigation into the discovery is ongoing. The bus was headed to Vicksburg, Mississippi. The Louisiana Department of Education have announced the most recent recipients of the titles of Teacher and Principal of the Year. Kevin Barnhart has the details.
The recipients were announced with the top honors for Principal of the Year going to Dr. Eric Davis of Wasman High School in the City of Monroe School District. Davis on the key to his school success.
We don't believe in mediocrity. We always believe in shooting for excellence. We're not going to settle for the status quo. We're going to keep pushing.
Teacher of the Year went to Spencer Kuiper of Elm Grove Middle School in Bossier Parish, who unveils his methods.
Going into education with an open mind, ready to learn and be better every day, and loving what I do.
I'm Kevin Barnhart.
Westbound I-220 in Bossier is back open after being closed for several hours due to a wreck. A truck carrying a load of asphalt and tar overturned on the interstate near the Market Street exit around 3:30 yesterday afternoon. It took until 11 p.m. last evening to clean up the mess and get the roadway back open. A missing Barksdale airman has been found. Airman First Class Robert Mayfield is at a Shreveport hospital after being found sleeping on a park bench near Alexander Avenue. Police say that Mayfield wasn't hurt and was cooperative after being discovered. Mayfield went missing from near Brentwood Hospital last Wednesday. Authorities were worried he may have intended to do himself harm. And Mayor Lo Walker from Bossier and Mayor Ollie Tyler from Shreveport are combining forces to help kids out this school year. The annual Mayor's Backpack Giveaway will take place today at the Bossier Civic Center. The event runs from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can get all the details at KEELnews.com. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
A lot of interesting conversation going on off the air. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Erin's out today. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio. We're going to get back to all the democratic socialism, and I definitely want to talk about global warming, your field of expertise. But we just got a couple of minutes, and I wanted to get you – I'm going to repeat this and then tell you what Parr said because it's absolutely awesome. In the 7 o'clock hour, we were talking about the new NFL helmet rules coming on in the wake of, what is it now? They're literally $500 million in 2 years. That's what the NFL has paid out, $500 million in medical benefits. Originally, the first estimate was that they would pay out about $400 million in 10 years. It's $500 million in 10 years, in just 2 years, I'm sorry. And I said, basically, the NFL is no matter what you think about it, the facts are what they are. And it's an assembly line of brain trauma because it's not like it's going to stop. So under the new rules, and remember now, these are the new NFL rules that go into effect starting this Thursday night, day after tomorrow, NFL Hall of Fame game, first exhibition game. Under the new rules, a player will be penalized and potentially fined or ejected for lowering his head to initiate and make contact with his helmet against an opponent. The rule applies because previously it's always been defensive backfield stuff. The rule now applies not only to tacklers, but linemen and ball carriers as well. And you had heard that, and we were kind of talking about that off the air. And I said to you, do you think the NFL's in trouble? And this was a brilliant quote. I'll tell you to your face. You said, that's what happens when you have philosophers making rules. Tell me what you meant by that and what you think the future of this sport is.
When you're trying to figure out how many angels are dancing on the penhead to determine whether it's a catch or not, it makes no sense. A game should be a game. How difficult are the rules for Monopoly? They're right there. You can read them. Great. Now we can play. In football and in a lot of sports, Matt was making this point earlier, a lot of sports are changing the rules so much so that you have to go, okay, you have to parse out the meaning. What is the meaning of the word is, right? When you start dealing like you're sounding like you're defending Bill Clinton to figure out what the rules are.
Commissioner of baseball.
Right? When you start getting to that point where even the fans watching the game goes, Was that, did he duck his head in order to initiate contact, or was he just ducking his head because, he was looking down? How does this feel? Okay, it's a penalty. Look, with that rule, there's a way to interpret it to where every team in the NFL is going to end up with more penalty yards than they do offensive yards.
Literally, par, your shoe's untied. What? Oh, your head's down 15 yards.
Right.
Well,
and the ruling on a catch, was he making a football motion? What's a football motion?
Gonna find out how it's gonna work starting Thursday night when the NFL exhibition season begins. 839, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Ruben's here.
Starting to see some slow-moving traffic on Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, and we're still keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on Clyde Vant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to a hazmat situation. Police are on the scene. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Some sun and a shower or thunderstorm with a high of 89 today. Then it turns clear with a low of 68 tonight. The humidity comes down tomorrow. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm meteorologist Heather Zayer.
.101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty. Erin off for the week. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio is here. They're heard nightly here on Keel from 6 till 7 with Louis R. Avalone. The name of your book is The Second Sentence.
Second Sentence. Now, that book's not up for sale yet. Bright Spots Big Country is for sale. It's still on Amazon. It's still selling well.
So when you intimidated me by telling me you're working on a book,
yeah,
you didn't intimidate me further by saying, well, I've already got one out.
Well, Louis and I wrote a book a year ago, Bright Spots, Big Country, and that's kind of what started the 4th of July radio special last year that got America Radio launched, actually. And the book is all about solutions. So instead of just looking for where things are going wrong, Bright Spots, Big Country looks for where things are going right and how can you replicate that across the country.
You know, we were talking off the air a couple of seconds ago about the wildfires, pardon me, in California. What's the one? What's it called? The Carr Fire? Was that what one of them was called? Like CARR.
Yeah.
And evidently, it's as bad as those San Diego fires earlier. Was it earlier this year? Yeah, well, I guess it was.
Yeah, every fire is the new worst fire ever.
Well, that's interesting because one of the things I've missed in the coverage of these new California fires by the mainstream media is they are always the very first ones to say or go out and get a scientist who will tell you oh, it's global warming.
Right.
Oh my God, we're doomed. It's all over. We need to evacuate to Mars. And one of the things that's been lacking in this coverage of these fires, and perhaps even lacking in the coverage of the fires because they can't tie it to global. Well, y'all can go ahead and burn in California. We can't tie it to global warming, so we don't care.
And it's not just that California's fires. There've been big fires in Sweden. There have been big fires in Greece. And one of the things they'll do with the global warming scare is they will find isolated events from around the world that are similar. They'll tie them all together and say, see, this is happening all over the world.
It's a planetary disaster.
Right. It's a planetary disaster. The problem is this year, inconveniently, there was a study that came out that actually said that both in the number of fires and in the area burned, numbers are actually lower now than they were 300 years ago. Wildfires have actually been decreasing over the past 300 years globally. And that is an inconvenient truth for folks that are trying to spread scaremongering about climate change.
Now, before anybody thinks that you're just some ex-weather guy who likes to talk about global warming, please.
I kind of am. I mean, that's fairly accurate.
Yes, but your bona fides in this area are just a little impressive.
Well, I have a master's degree in geosciences from Mississippi State and a broadcast meteorology degree from them as well. And the geosciences degree goes beyond meteorology. It really does study climatology, oceanography, geosciences. So it goes a little more in depth.
So basically, when you tell folks, you don't have to convince me, of course, that global warming is one of the biggest hoaxes ever perpetuated on mankind by anybody. You know what you're talking about.
And it's real easy in science. When you're looking at science, when you're looking at an issue, and the data comes back and it says something opposite of what your theory says, what you're supposed to do is to change the theory. Well, the theory of global warming is wrong in two different ways. One, it's wrong in magnitude, and it's wrong in methodology. First, in magnitude, we have not gotten as warm as the climate models said we should have. And the climate models are the mathematical representation of the theory. We haven't gotten as warm as those models said. So in magnitude, the height of the warming has not occurred. So the model's wrong.
Is there any dire prediction that has been made by any global warming advocate that has ever come true?
That no matter how much we spend on it, we can't stop it? That's
in other words,
the only one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not really. And actually, I was looking back at James Hansen's 1988 original testimony on Capitol Hill, the day that he literally turned the air conditioner off in the hearing room to make it feel like it was warmer to the congressman listening to his testimony. They really did. They sabotaged the air conditioning to make it feel warmer that day.
Wow.
And he comes out and talks about global warming, about how Manhattan would be underwater, about how there would be more hurricanes, worse hurricane. None of the predictions he made that day have come true, and we're more than 30 years down the line.
I was 4. I'm trying to think. What year was I in 6th grade? Started school in 58, so that would have been 64.
Okay.
From 1964 until maybe about 10 years or so ago, I was a subscriber to Sports Illustrated.
Oh, all right, sure.
Every week I got Sports Illustrated. Every week I could not wait to get my Sports Illustrated. One of the highlights of my week, as it is for millions of others.
Right.
And then one week, Thursday, the Sports Illustrated comes in the mail. And on the cover is a picture of then Florida Marlins pitcher. I think his name was Donyell Marshall. And on the cover of Sports Illustrated is pictured Donyell Marshall, and he's waist deep in water. And the cover headline is basically, will global warming destroy American sports?
No.
Within 5 minutes.
Oh, man.
I got on the phone.
Yeah.
Well, just to give you an insight into how long ago it was a hardline phone call I made.
Right.
And I called Sports Illustrated and I said, cancel my subscription. And she says, why? And I said, because of your cover story. I said, look, I don't expect you to go and complain to anybody for me. I don't expect you to do anything about it. But I just want you to know, jot this down, that I have been a subscriber to your magazine since I was 12 years old. And you have screwed it up by this radical leftist fantasizing and putting it on the cover of your magazine.
You've jumped the marlin.
Perfectly put. What you guys got coming up on the show tonight?
Well, actually, we're going to be talking a little bit about pushing back on pushing back. There have been a couple of stories. You know how the left is coming out and they're actually committing acts of violence against Trump supporters. There are actually two different court cases going on right now. One which could be coming up soon if police don't change their behavior, and another one that's just in the courts that says police officers have not done enough to protect Trump supporters.
Wow.
And so it's pushing back on pushing back. We're going to be talking about that. Plus, we've got you coming up
That's
later on
later
Thursday.
in the week. We'll talk about that in a second,
yeah,
too.
so that's going to be pretty I'm excited about that.
I'm feeling a little nauseous. 849, 1017 FM, 710 Keel Traffic Update. Ruben's ready.
Still keeping a close eye on that backed up traffic on Clyde Fant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to a hazmat situation. Police are on the scene. And we have some traffic delays on Swan Lake Road just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Here's your KeelAccuweather.com forecast. Kind of cloudy and hazy and a chance of rain off and on today, maybe heavy at times. High is going to be up close to 90. Right now, 73 at Keel, 850 your money now.
You're listening to American Ground Radio's Morning Minute.
A new report out says that Medicare for All would cost $32.6 trillion over the next 10 years, and even if you double all corporate and personal income taxes, it still wouldn't cover the new expense.
Look, Medicare, even in its present form, can't take care of all Americans. It's currently an unfunded liability. Actually, the federal government has promised benefits over the next 75 years at a cost of $37 trillion. Yes, trillion. And current and former taxpayers must come up with the money because we don't have it, and yet we want to put more people on it.
Democrats are pushing Medicare for All and single-payer health care as the solution to our Medicare woes. They're not.
American Ground Radio, where building a better America begins with building a better us. Return each weeknight from 6 to 7 p.m. with Louis R. Abalone and Stephen Parr on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel and streaming live at keelnews.com.
101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, it's 8:54. In for Erin today, at least this hour. Steve Parr from American Ground Radio. We don't have a lot of time to get into this, about just a couple of minutes, but one of the things we talked about off the air was Donald Trump now is threatening, President Trump threatening to shut down the government over immigration, specifically illegal immigration, even more specific, building a wall.
Right.
If you don't build the wall, I'll shut down the government. Not only are Democrats telling everyone he's crazy, not only is the mainstream media, the CNNs, the networks of the world telling everyone Donald Trump is crazy, there are Republicans who are saying, Donald Trump, that's the worst strategy, that's the worst thing you could ever do. Based on the last 12 or 14 or 16 months of the Trump presidency, when every time somebody says that's the stupidest, craziest, poorly thought out thing you, Donald Trump, could do, and it turns out to work, why haven't they learned? Why haven't, especially on the Republican side, why is there consistently so much opposition to a guy who says winning, well, yeah, he seems to be?
Because they haven't followed the benevolent axiom, which is where you assume the person you're talking to not only is rational, but that they believe they're doing something right. They have assumed Donald Trump's crazy. When you assume someone's crazy, you can never figure out what they're doing because, hey, they're crazy. But if you say, wait a minute, this is a rational person, and I'm going to believe that this is a rational person who is behaving in a way that that person believes is the right way to do things, then you can figure out their motivations a lot easier. But if you just assume Donald Trump's crazy, you're never going to get the right answer. If you go, wait, this is a real person with rational ideas, let me see if I can figure out what he's doing, then you come a lot closer.
Plus, you've got a lot of really smart people who would have to admit to themselves and to everyone that this guy, this coarse, this uncouth, this New York construction guy,
right,
is smarter than they are.
Well, and I remember the moment I did that was when he survived calling John McCain bad names for having gotten captured, and his poll numbers didn't go down. That's when I went, I've made the wrong assumption. I've got to change the way I think.
Helsinki, he comes back, he gets trashed. What happens? He gains 2 points. Back tomorrow morning, 6 till 9. Don't forget Steve and American Ground Radio tonight, 6 till 7 on Keel. Here's Kim Commando.
How safe is public Wi-Fi? Kim Commando with your Tuesday Consumer Tech Update. And the answer to that question is not safe at all. But as you vacation this summer, here are 4 steps to take. First, before logging on to any public Wi-Fi network, whether it's free or paid, in a hotel room, at the airport, always turn file sharing off. Mac or Windows, it doesn't matter. Next, keep your phone and laptop permanently set to not automatically connect to any Wi-Fi network unless you say that it's okay. Third, and again, before you connect, be certain that whatever Wi-Fi you are about to log into is a legitimate network of the hotel or airport and not something phony set up by a hacker just to mimic a legitimate Wi-Fi signal and then collect all your passwords and other data. And finally, watch your shoulder. Shoulder surfers look over your shoulder to get your usernames and passwords. And even after you take all these precautions, never bank or shop from a public Wi-Fi system. I'm Kim Commando. When you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. You need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes. Set up screener questions based on your job requirements. Then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed.com for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
So have you ever made a change and then wondered, why didn't I do this a long time ago? That's what's happening for thousands of people with regard to their health care. They're joining MediShare and finding the typical savings for a family is about $500 a month. People love being part of MediShare. The convenience, the huge network of providers. There are a lot of reasons this is growing so fast. So call, and you might wonder, why didn't I do this before? 855-25-SHARE. That's 855-25-SHARE.
Keeping an eye right now on some slow-moving traffic on Clyde Fant Memorial Parkway northbound near Stoner Avenue due to a hazmat situation. And we have some backed up traffic on I-20 westbound near Spring and Market. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROW.
KEELAccuWeather.com forecast, kind of cloudy today and hazy and hot and humid and a chance of rain, heavy at times. Right now, 73.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport.